They label you now, don't they? Small minds, caged by their own fears, stamping you with their fragile little words. They slap names on you like price tags, hoping to define your worth, hoping to keep you in a box small enough to fit their delusions. Misfit, outcast, too much, not enough. They don't see you. Oh no, they see what they need to see. It's easier that way, keeps their brittle egos intact. If they can name you, they think they can tame you, but they have no idea what they're dealing with, do they? They've always done this. Since the dawn of time, the weak have pointed their trembling fingers at the ones who refuse to kneel. They laugh at the ones who stand apart, call them fools, failures, freaks. It's a trick, you see, a desperate attempt to bring you down to their level. Because if you ever realized what you truly are, if you ever embraced the force within you, their little world would shatter. And they can't have that. Oh no, they need things to stay just as they are. Comfortable, predictable, safe. But you are not safe. You are not predictable. You are something else entirely. They label you now because they fear what they do not understand. And fear? Oh, fear is just respect waiting to mature. They call you a nobody today, but mark my words. One day they'll whisper your name like it's a legend carved into the very bones of history. But before we get to that part, let's talk about where you are now. You walk among them, yet you are not one of them. You listen to their hollow conversations, their mindless chatter, their pitiful complaints about a life they refuse to change. You watch them live in loops, wake up, obey, sleep, repeat. And when they see you standing outside their little cycle, when they see you daring to step away from the herd, what do? They mock, they sneer. They call you delusional for believing you could be something more. Oh, but they're the delusional ones. Because you are exactly what this world fears most. Someone who thinks. Someone who sees beyond the masks, beyond the illusions, beyond the cheap plastic existence they clutch so desperately. And deep down, they know it. That's why they attack you. That's why they try to break you. Because if they could, they wouldn't have to face the truth, that they are the prisoners. And you are already free. Ah, but freedom comes at a cost, doesn't it? They won't let you walk away unscathed. No, 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 they'll push, they'll shove, they'll test you, throwing every label, every insult, every cruel little jab your way, hoping, praying that you'll crack under the weight of it all. Because the moment you do, they win. They'll say, "See? Told you he wasn't special. Told you she'd fall apart like the rest of us." And for a moment, just a moment, they'll feel powerful again. But that's the thing about people like you. You don't break. You adapt. You evolve. You take everything they throw at you, and instead of crumbling, you forge yourself into something sharper, something stronger. They give you pain, and you turn it into power. They give you rejection, and you turn it into resilience. And before they even realize what's happened, you've outgrown them, outpaced them, outmaneuvered them. Oh, and that's when things get really fun. Because once they see you rising, truly rising, they start to panic. They scramble to rewrite the story. The same ones who doubted you, who mocked you, who swore you'd never amount to anything, suddenly change their tune. I always knew they had potential. I always believed in them. Oh, how quickly they switch sides when they smell success in the air. How fast they slither out of their old opinions, shedding their past judgments like a snake shedding skin. But you remember, don't you? You remember every smirk, every sneer, every whispered insult spat behind your back. You remember the ones who turned their backs when you needed them most. And now you stand on the precipice of something far greater than they ever imagined. They see the shift. They feel the ground trembling beneath their feet. And suddenly, the labels they once used to chain you, they start to sound different. More like reverence, more like awe, more like the first whispers of a legend in the making. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. You're not there yet. No. You still have work to do. You still have battles to fight, ghosts to bury, mountains to climb. You still have to walk through the fire, alone, as all great ones do. Because becoming a legend, that's not a gift. It's a test, a brutal, merciless trial that only the worthy survive. And you are about to find out just how worthy you truly are. But let's talk about what happens next. Because you see, this journey, it's not just about endurance, it's about transformation. The moment you stop seeking validation, the moment you stop needing them to understand you, something shifts. You stop playing their game. You stop explaining yourself to people who were never meant to grasp your vision in the first place. And suddenly, their opinions, their labels, their desperate little judgments, they become irrelevant. Oh, and that is when the real fun begins. Because when you stop caring what they think, when you stop waiting for their permission to become who you were always meant to be, you become unstoppable. That's the part they never see coming. That's the moment they realize they never had control over you at all. And when that moment arrives, oh, they don't just fear you anymore. They respect you. And in time, they follow you. But let's not rush. First, you must decide. Will you break under their weight, or will you rise above it? Will you let them tell your story, or will you write your own? Because the ones who change the world, the ones who become legends, they never wait for permission. They never ask for acceptance. They simply become. So tell me, are you ready to begin? You're standing at the edge now, aren't you? Right there, between the world they built for you and the world you're about to carve out for yourself. The air is different here, thicker, heavier, charged with something almost electric. It's the weight of expectation, theirs and yours. Theirs, because they still think they have a say in what you become. Yours, because deep down, you know you were never meant to stay where they left you. This is the part where most people turn back. They hesitate, second guess. They hear the echoes of doubt, the voices telling them to stay in their place, and they listen. But you? No, you've come too far for that. You've felt the burn of rejection, the sting of dismissal, the cold shoulder of a world that never intended to make room for you. And yet, here you are, still moving forward. That's what sets you apart. That's why they fear you. Because let's be honest, fear is what it's always been about. It was never about your faults, your shortcomings, or the supposed mistakes they love to point out. No, that was just the smokescreen. The real issue? The real reason they whisper behind your back, sabotage you, do everything in their power to keep you from rising. It's because you remind them of what they could be if they weren't so afraid. And that terrifies them. See, people don't actually hate the ones who are different. They hate the ones who prove they could be different too. They hate the mirror you hold up to their mediocrity, their complacency. You expose their wasted potential just by existing. And instead of using that as fuel to better themselves, they'd rather tear you down. Because that's easier, isn't it? It's easier to attack than to admit they're the ones who have been holding themselves back all along. But their fears are not your burdens to carry. Their limitations are not yours to inherit. You are not responsible for making them feel comfortable in their stagnation. Let them tremble. Let them scramble for explanations, for reasons, for excuses, anything to avoid the truth staring them in the face. And the truth is this: you are not like them. You never were. That's why the labels never fit. That's why no matter how many times they tried to box you in, something inside you refused to shrink. Because there was always something greater pulling at you, something unseen but undeniable. Call it instinct, call it destiny, call it whatever you like. But you felt it, didn't you? That ache, that restlessness, that gnawing sensation that told you you were meant for more. They don't understand it. They never will. So don't waste your breath trying to explain it to them. You could hand them a map, show them every step of your journey, lay out your plans in perfect clarity, and still they wouldn't see it. Not because they can't, but because they won't. It's easier to pretend you're lost than to admit you've simply outgrown them. So let them watch, let them scoff, let them cling to their outdated opinions, their fragile narratives, their desperate attempts to define what they will never control. You don't need their understanding. You don't need their approval. And most importantly, you don't need their permission. What you do need is something they could never give you: resolve, discipline, patience, the strength to keep going when every door slams in your face, when every path is blocked, when every voice tells you to quit. Because the road to greatness, it's not a road at all. It's a battlefield. And most people don't have the stomach for war. But you were forged in it. You learned how to take the hits, how to swallow the pain, channel it, use it. You figured out that setbacks weren't signs to stop. They were just reminders to sharpen your weapons. Every failure, every loss, every betrayal, it all became fuel. And now, as you stand on the cusp of something they never thought you'd reach, you realize something incredible. The very things that were supposed to break you, they built you instead. So what happens now? Now that you see the game for what it is? Now that their words no longer cut, their judgments no longer sting, their approval no longer holds any weight? Simple. You rise. Not in anger, not in bitterness. No. Those emotions are far too small for someone like you. You rise in silence, in focus, in unshakable, undeniable power. Because there's nothing louder than a presence that cannot be ignored. And that's what you're becoming. Something they can't dismiss. Something they can't erase. Something that forces them to sit up, pay attention, and reckon with the truth they tried so hard to bury. Oh, they'll resist it at first. Of course they will. The mind fights what it doesn't understand. But the funny thing about undeniable things, they don't need belief to exist. The sun doesn't stop shining just because someone refuses to open their eyes. And you are blinding now. So let them wrestle with the shift. Let them struggle to reconcile the image they had of you with the reality standing before them. Some will adapt. Some will cling to their ignorance. And some will pretend they always saw it in you. that they always knew you'd make it, that they were rooting for you all along. Oh, the irony. But by then, it won't matter, because you won't be looking back. Legends are never made by those who dwell on the past. They are made by those who keep moving forward, no matter who doubts, no matter who resists, no matter who stays behind. And you're done waiting. So go on, step forward, not because they believe in you, not because they've finally started to understand, but because you always knew. And that is enough. And now, this is the moment they never prepared for, the moment where all their carefully spun illusions begin to unravel, thread by fragile thread. The moment where you no longer walk among them as the outcast, the underestimated, the overlooked. No, 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 that version of you, it's long gone. What stands in its place is something else entirely, something undeniable, something unstoppable. You see, they thought they had it all figured out. They thought their words, their judgments, their whispers in the dark could sculpt the limits of your existence. They thought that if they labeled you enough, you'd start to believe it. That if they kept the gates locked, you'd give up on trying to enter. But what they never considered, what never even crossed their small, trembling minds, is that you weren't looking for a way in. You were always meant to build something of your own. And that terrifies them. Because now they see it. They see the empire rising from the ashes they left you in. They see the unstoppable force of will, sharpened by rejection, strengthened by every wound they thought would be fatal. They see that the person they dismissed, ridiculed, and underestimated has not only survived, but has become something greater than they ever dared to be. It's poetic, isn't it? The way tables turn, the way tides shift, the way time itself rearranges the pieces, setting the stage for the inevitable. They spent so long convincing themselves that you would never be anything more than their perception of you. And yet here you stand, untouchable, unshaken, a force that cannot be ignored. They don't know how to react. They stammer, they hesitate, they reach for old weapons that no longer have any effect. They try to downplay it, try to tell themselves it's just a stroke of luck, just a passing phase, just anything but the truth. Because the truth would shatter them. The truth is that you were never the weak one. You were never the fool. You were never the one who needed them. They needed you. They needed someone to look down on, someone to validate their own mediocrity, someone to bury under their insecurities. And now that you've stepped out of that role, they don't know what to do with themselves. They're lost, scrambling, grasping at shadows that no longer exist. And here's the best part. You don't even have to say a word. You don't need to gloat. You don't need to seek revenge. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Because your very existence, your success, your sheer, undeniable presence is all the proof that's needed. It is the loudest silence they have ever heard, the heaviest weight they have ever carried. Let them sit with it. Let them feel it. Let them drown in it. But you move forward, because legends are not built on resentment. They are not shackled to old wounds or weighed down by the ghosts of those who doubted them. No, legends transcend. They rise above the noise, beyond the petty games, past the limitations imposed by those too afraid to reach for something greater. Legends walk alone, not because they are lonely, but because the path they carve is one only the fearless can follow. And so you walk, unbothered, unchained, free in a way they will never understand. But here's the irony. You don't even need their recognition anymore. You don't crave their validation, their applause, their reluctant acknowledgments of who you've become. That's the final piece of your evolution. The moment you realize that their opinions, their judgments, their entire perception of you, it's irrelevant. It always was. And the moment you embrace that, the moment you truly release the weight of their expectations, you step into something even greater. Because now, the labels they used to throw at you, they hold no power. They are nothing but echoes of a time when you still cared about their definitions. But the legend you are becoming, it is not defined by them. It is not shaped by their words. It is carved from the choices you made, the battles you fought, the scars you wear like armor. And that is something they will never take away from you. You see, legends are not born from ease. They are not crafted in comfort, nor forged in complacency. Legends are built in the fire, where the weak crumble and the strong emerge, tested and refined. They come from hardship, from adversity, from the moments when the entire world seemed to be against you. And still, you endured. You didn't just endure, you thrived. And now, they watch. The same ones who mocked you, who cast you aside, who whispered their doubts behind your back. They watch and they pretend. Pretend they always believed in you. Pretend they saw this coming. Pretend they were on your side all along. But you know the truth. You remember their words, their scorn, their laughter, and you don't need to remind them of it. The weight of their own hypocrisy is enough. The world remembers legends, not because they begged to be remembered, not because they sought approval, but because they lived in a way that demanded it. They walked their own path without permission, without apology. And that is what you are doing. That is what they will never understand. So let them keep talking. Let them scramble to rewrite their stories, to reposition themselves in the narrative. It doesn't matter, because history does not remember the critics. It does not remember the doubters, the naysayers, the ones who stood on the sidelines and pointed fingers. No, history remembers the ones who dared, the ones who walked forward, even when the world told them to stop. And that's you. They labeled you once, but now they have no choice but to call you what you always were destined to be, a legend.